Hey guys, in this video today I will try to answer the most frequently asked questions regarding DevTrap rogue builds. So it's gonna be a mix of questions that I receive under my YouTube videos in the comments, but also like general questions. So if you're not too familiar with the DevTrap rogue build and you still want to learn some things, maybe also about overpower builds in general, then this video is for you. While if you are kinda already experienced with this archetype, maybe you should just skip this video today and it's not for you. So yeah, that's the disclaimer, and now let's jump into the game. So the number one question that I receive many times under my YouTube videos is people ask me if they should actually masterwork or focus on overpower damage in this type of build. So what I mean by that is we have tempers in the game, such as on my sword here. So you can see I have 203% overpower damage as a temper, and many people believe that overpower damage is a very important affix in this archetype. Because, well, it kind of makes sense. It's called overpower damage, but ironically, this is the worst stat or the worst affix for this type of build. And it has to do with the formula, how overpower damage is exactly calculated. So the in-game tool unfortunately can't help you there too much. Also the stats that you will see in the tooltips are usually bugged and not correct. But you just need to understand that overpower damage is scaling of your maximum life. And for that reason, it's actually very simple. You just have to keep in mind that for overpower builds and also like the DevTrap rogue, which is also an overpower build, if you also play with Banished Lord Talisman especially, you just have to focus on your max life, because this is the most important affix that will scale your overpower damage. And overpower damage as an additive damage type, which you can temper on your weapons, for example. This is ironically the worst stat, because in overpower builds we already have an insane high amount of additive damage at the end of the day, because all of your max life will get converted into additive overpower damage, which is just not displayed in the tooltips correctly, unfortunately. And so for that reason, all of the damage types that you can see here in your offensive stats, so for example also vulnerable damage, all damage, damage with shadow, ultimate damage, basically all of this different damage stuff, different damage types are additive damage, and they are not increasing your total DPS in a very significant way. So you can just kind of ignore all of this overpower damage and other damage types for this build, and yeah, just forget it. And so FX priority is clearly max life, dexterity, and also core ranks in this build. So actually core ranks is your number one priority, just because we don't have too many items which can give us these ranks. So core ranks number 1, max life number 2, and dexterity number 3. Basically all of the affixes you can see right now here on my gloves. And yeah, this is everything you need to keep in mind when you want to scale your damage of your overpower builds higher. And then I want to talk about energy. I think this is always kind of an issue for many players. So first of all, if you have problems with energy, let me quickly open my Mobalytics guide. You can just visit my guides, which I link basically all the time under my videos. So here we have like my DevTrap rogue build. And here I always have a little guide about energy and also cooldown reduction on my Mobalytics page. But I just want to explain it very shortly here as well. So with sorry, one second. So people will ask me also, do I need 275 energy in order to play DevTrap rogue? And the answer is no, you do not need 275 energy to play this build. You actually have two thresholds that are much lower. So the first threshold is 225 energy if you want to play with my variant, which I'm currently playing with, which is this Banished Lord Talisman variant, where we want to overpower as much as possible in the end game. So every hit will overpower once you reach 275 total energy, but you also can play this build without this amount, but with 225 energy. And don't forget that this 225 energy also already includes your momentum key passive, okay? So in this build we play with momentum. This is a very important key passive, because it can also increase our total energy amount by additional 30%. So for that reason, if I say you need 225 energy threshold, you actually need something like 175, because then you will also get the 30% for momentum, and this is like with momentum together. And then there are some other variants right now with close quarters combat instead of momentum. So some players switch to this passive here in order to get a little bit more damage for pit pushing purposes. And in this variant you will need at least 150 energy, and this is because you want to have your death trap cooldown either at 15 or 10 seconds. It depends on the build variance. So momentum is usually 15 seconds and close quarters combat is 10 seconds. Right now I have 12, so I'm in between. And for that reason, because we're playing with preparation, you want to have at least 150 or 225 energy in order to reset your ultimate skill, so your death trap, by 10 or 15 seconds, depending on your build and on your cooldown. So this is the idea. And for that reason, so how we can reach this amount of energy, usually you just want to find peaceful boots with a lot of maximum resource, so ideally with a greater FX. But on my mobilities guide again, I have a detailed instruction what kind of items you need, but usually you just want max resource on your peaceful boots, then you want max resource on your Harlequin Crest Shaker or on a legendary helmet if you don't have this Mythic Unique. Then you have your elixir of resourcefulness, which gives you additional 25 energy, and also there's an aspect in the game called Galvanized Slasher, so you can just search for Galvanized. And this one can also give you up to 35 total energy. And the trick here is to use the curiosity vendor. So you can spend your obols at the curiosity vendor here and try to gamble for rings, because rings are the only items that can give you this aspect of like this galvanized slashers aspect with max energy. So yeah, this is a little tip I can give you here. But again, you can just visit my mobilities site. And here I also have like an energy cheat sheet, so this is if you want to go more detailed into the energy calculation. So here you can exactly calculate how much base values your items need, how much base value your galvanized aspect should have in order to reach this 275 total energy. Okay, so yeah, this is everything that I can give you here about energy. And talking about energy, we also need to cover aftermath ranks, because one part of the build is having enough energy and the other part is to sustain this energy. And the way how we sustain energy is usually with aftermath ranks. So the question is, how many ranks do you actually need? So this again depends on the type of build you're playing. In my build, which I also have on my mobilities guide, I'm playing with Concealment and Death Trap. So I always cast Concealment and Death Trap together. And in this variant you will need around 8 Aftermath ranks, or let's say minimum 8 Aftermath ranks. But if you want to play the variant without Concealment, some players dropped Concealment already and just spam Death Trap. In this case you will need at least 10 ranks of Aftermath, just a little bit more to restore the energy. The reason for that is that Concealment gives you 40 energy itself if you use it, so you can read it here. Enhanced Concealment gives you this energy, and also Beastful Boots restore energy for each cooldown you activate. So for that reason we need less ranks with Concealment than without. The last part for requirements, requirement part of Death Trap is the cooldown. So I already talked about it a bit. You need usually a 10 or 15 seconds cooldown for Death Trap. It depends on the build you're playing. For my build you need 15 seconds, and the easy way how you can achieve this is by core ranks. So you can see right now I have 24 out of 5 Death Trap ranks. This is because Death Trap is also core skill after we equip Scoundrel's Leathers, and now it benefits from core ranks, and I have them on my gloves, for example. I have them on Harlequin Crest Shaker, so here I have in general +4 ranks. And we also have +5 ranks on Ring of Starless Skies. So core ranks lower the amount of cooldown, of cooldown also up to a specific point. I think up to 20 ranks you will get reduced cooldown. And then you just have tempers on your rings. So here you can see I have even double critted it twice during Masterworking, so I have 40 2% death trap cooldown reduction, and this is usually not needed, but if you have problems, you can see that it of course helps if you also Masterwork your rings here and hit this death trap cooldown reduction. And the last thing, or the last source of cooldown reduction, is also here with Uriwara's bombs, and this here gives you additional 15% cooldown reduction as well if you have still problems with cooldown. Then I want to talk about, one second, I want to talk about Mythic Uniques. So in this build we have up to 3 Mythic Uniques: the Hurricane Crest Shaco, the Ring of Starless Skies, and the Doombringer. And people ask me what is the most important one, and so are there certain combinations of Mythic Uniques that you can wear, or should you only wear them if you have all 3 of them? So to simply answer this question, Hurricane Crest Shaco is by far the most important Mythic Unique. It just gives you everything you basically want for this build, while Doombringer and Ring of Starless Skies are more optional. And here it heavily depends on your roles, on your greater affixes, on yeah, what you have basically found. So for example, Doombringer, I did some math on it, and it of course depends on your setup, and it depends on how much max life you already have. But for me, the rule of the thumb kinda is that Doombringer is only worth it for most builds or most setups if you at least can Masterwork it 2 times, or like crit it 2 times. Here you can see I have critted it 3 times, I was kinda lucky here. Yeah, but if you don't hit it 2 times at least, and you also don't have a greater affix on max life, so we only want Doombringer for its max life, this is the only affix we are interested in, then it's usually not worth it to equip a Doombringer actually, and you can just replace it with another legendary sword, which is just the same as this one. Maybe except for the lucky hit chance, this is more like an experiment for another build right now, but the one from my planner, and you just put on the 4th grenade aspect that is still missing, and then you're good to go. And also Ring of Starless Skies, I think it's only worth it if you hit at least 5 to 6 core skill ranks. And if you don't have it, don't worry, you can just equip another legendary ring and yeah, get even more death trap cooldown if needed, and also another grenade aspect or another offensive aspect. So Hurricane Crest Shaco by far the most important one, but you can wear a combination of specific Mythic Uniques. You just need to make sure that you have enough death trap cooldown reduction and enough energy. That's all. And then you can wear all of them if they are sufficient enough. So again, Doombringer, you really need a lot of max life in order to make it work. Then I want to cover the different builds of Death Trap quickly. So it started with Momentum, and now we also have this Close Quarters Combat builds, also new experimentations with this Lucky Hit to restore primary resource. This is like a new technology which allows us to utilize another rune combination, which doubles our damage. So we have now like 2 or 3 different setups. And people ask me if they are better than the old variant. So I already shared this in my latest video, the update video for Death Trap Rogue. So this Close Quarters Combat variants are mathematically better than the Momentum variants. As far as I have calculated it, for the average player, for the average setup, I think it will be a damage boost of around 25%. Maybe it's a bit more. Some theory crafters have calculated more than 40% or around 40%. So something between 25 to 40% is the damage increase from Close Quarters Combat builds. So if you want to go for pit pushing, then this is the right choice for sure. You can check out the builds from Matthias the Gamer or also Sanctum on Mobalytics. But for me personally, it's not worth it right now, just because I don't like this playstyle. I also don't care about pit pushing too much. Because the big downside of Close Quarters Combat is that you are first a little bit less tanky, but this is still okay. But the second downside is that you will have to use more buttons usually during your rotation, because you want to keep Close Quarters Combat activated all the time, otherwise you will lose 4 times more damage or so, and for that reason you will need to push more buttons in order to keep the rotation going, and that's something I don't really like for speed farming. Lower pits in the for Paragon grind or something, and yeah, for that reason it's not worth it for me right now. Then, heading to the end of the video, I want to cover Concealment Death Trap rotation. So, what is the best rotation of Concealment and Death Trap? So, if, let's say you're a controller player, this is a quick, easy answer. If you're a controller player, you can just hold down both buttons actually. So you hold down Concealment and Death Trap at the same time, and then the game automatically casts and recasts both skills very easily. So this is like a jackpot for you. While if you're a keyboard and mouse player, I have figured out for myself at least that holding down the one button for Concealment, in my case it's Q, holding down Concealment while tapping Death Trap around 2 times per second, so really not too fast, only 2 times per second, gives me the most damage for this build. I don't know exactly why this is happening, but for me it's more damage when I just tap it 2 times instead of spamming it all the time. And I would never hold down both buttons on keyboard because this will just not work and you will not cast Concealment that way. So that is my finding so far. You can try out for yourself if it also works for you. And yeah, maybe a little tip here. Then I want to quickly cover Paragon board. So Paragon, once you are finished with all the stuff that you want, so all the glyphs and all the legendary nodes, what should you take? And the answer here is we want to take dexterity nodes everywhere. Basically everywhere. So instead of additive damage, I mentioned previously in this video, we do not care about additive damage at all in these builds. For example, we have 80% trap damage here, but we just do not take it because it's not significant damage increase for this build. So instead of this 80% trap damage, we just want to take this 4 dexterity nodes, for example. So you just take dexterity wherever you can find it and in the most efficient way, let's say, okay? Just find a cluster, a bunch of clusters for dexterity nodes. That's the end game for Paragon. FXS on Uniques is another topic because it's also, I'm a bit surprised, but this question is also coming quite often. People ask me, for example, they have found 2 different Scoundrel's leathers. One has a better unique effect, so the text down below, but another one has a like weaker effect. But has 2 greater affixes or something and has more damage to trap enemies or more trap damage. So guys, very important for every build in Diablo 4, never pay attention too much for additive damage. So stuff like trap damage, damage to trap the enemies, this is additive damage and it's barely doing anything in the end game. It's very slight increase, and in this case it's very, very slight increase in damage. So please always focus on the unique effect or legendary effect of the items. So in this case the 30% damage increase after casting Death Trap. And do not pay attention at the affixes on this item specifically, okay? This item is only here for the unique effect and to make Death Trap core skills, okay? So yeah, I just get this question many times, so I also wanted to cover it. And the last 2 things, armor and resistances. Some people ask me how to cap resistances, they have problems with that. And guys, look at my resistances, I don't have them capped nearly as it should be in Diablo 4, usually. My armor is kinda capped right now, but the thing is with this build, you do not care about armor and resistances. Maybe in the early game when you just start with this build, but in the end game you're just immortal. You can do whatever you want, you just do not care about armor and resistances, so you don't need any tips on how to cap out here. And the last thing, which also is important but not covered too often, I feel like, the mercenary is actually quite important here in the setup. So if you own the DLC, Vessel of Hatred, then you can also play with the mercenaries. And here it's very important that you keep the mercenary that is linked in the planners. And most build crafters have the same mercenary, which is right here with the shield charge. And the reason for that is the shield charge of Rahir, from Rahir, is our only source for fortifying. And fortifying is very important because it basically doubles our damage with overpower builds. So if we fortify our life, we get more and more damage with overpower hits. And for that reason, it's very important that you keep Rahir with the shield charge, never change this, okay? Also, it's if it's tempting to go for Subo or something, you need to have Rahir in order to get the fortify bonus. Okay guys, I feel like I've done everything I wanted in this FAQ video. I really hope this helped you, for everyone who still had questions for this build, and that you can just jump in the video and pick up the topics you're interested in. So yeah, I would really be happy if you would consider liking this video and leaving a sub. I'm focused, I'm a rogue centered, focused content creator. I do a lot of rogue videos in the future as well. So yeah, I hope I see you next one, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day, and bye bye.